Ladies and gentlemen, starting next week, we're going to be hearing House bills. We will not be hearing cross files. We've heard the issue. It doesn't mean we can't take them up if we haven't moved the Senate bill, but hearing the same bill a second time doesn't make us a lot more smarter. Exactly right.
Significant amendments on the proposal.
If they're significantly different, we'll figure out a way to take them up. There's been some discussion, and I got to talk with the Senate President, about limiting, even on cross files. I mean, do we want to have 30 people here for a cross file? We'll get backed up. So we might, things that are not cross filed, I'm sorry, that are not cross filed, maybe limiting the fors and against rather than having it unlimited. So I will get back to you. You know, we don't want, there'll be a lot of House bills. We already have 47 that are not cross-filed that have come across. So, and there will probably be a lot more because Ways and Means has not done their work. And they, of course, send over lots of stuff.
I know in the House sometimes they have sponsor only, and then they have people in the audience if the committee wants some clarification. So that's something to consider.
Usually for a cross-file. Oh, really?
HGO does it sometimes, kind of pick and choose. Like you'll see on their list, will say bill, 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 and then the bill and says sponsor only, bill, bill, sponsor only. I don't know how they do that. I mean, it could investigate it if you're interested.
Anyway, you know, the next 2 weeks, we want to figure out how we want to play this. So that's coming up. Okay, let's begin. We'll start from the top.
SB 234, Public Schools, Purple Stars Schools Program Establishment. This bill establishes the Purple Star Schools Program administered by the Maryland State Department of Education to recognize public schools that provide strong services and support for military-connected students and their families. To qualify as a Purple Star school, a public school must designate a staff liaison to perform specified duties, create an easily accessible web page with pertinent resources, maintain a transition program led by students, offer professional development for staff on issues related to military-connected students, and offer one of several specified initiatives. A public school may partner with the county board to fulfill certain requirements. There is one amendment from Senator Jackson. It's separate on your desk, and this would remove students who are dependents of former military and make the program apply only to students of current military members. It targets the program to supporting newly enrolled or soon-to-be enrolled students of military families who transfer to that school, and it removes certain of the mandatory initiatives from the program.
Then what about if the enlisted person has died in duty? In the line of duty? Gold Star? That's different from Purple Star?
I think it's just a made-up designation. It's just to support these students who's the children of military folks who kind of come into these schools, and they're often transferring many schools, and to give them additional support so that they succeed. I mean, it's really, that's it. I mean, if a children's parent has died and they were in the military, I mean, the likelihood of them transferring again between more schools is going to be a lot less at that point, unless their other parent is also in the military.
But it does say military connected.
Right.
So.
So with the amendments, what is mandated? What remains? You said it took out some of the mandates.
Right, so they still have to have a liaison to identify these students, serve as a point of contact between the school and other military families, determine appropriate school services, assist in coordinating programs for these students, and generally aid the students in their transition to the new school. They have to post something on a web page that talks about the resources for these students. They have to maintain a transition program led by students if appropriate. And then they offer professional development. On page 3 of your reprint in that packet, it shows what initiatives were stricken. A resolution showing support, recognition of the month of a military child, or a partnership with a local military installation. Those were all stricken.
And that liaison, is that at the state level or is that at each school?
Let's see here. A staff member, no, it must be at the school because it's a designation for each school.
And it's elementary, middle, and high school?
It just says a school, a public school. It doesn't say.
The school has to initiate it. I mean, it's not like they're forcing them to do it. I mean, if you have a lot of students from a nearby base and you say, we'd like to be one of these, you can
Right.
pursue it. And assign someone as liaison, it's not a
So it's
new
not a
addition.
mandate to do it, it's
Not
setting
at
up
all.
the structure.
No,
if
the
they
school
wanna
has to
do it.
apply to the department to get this designation, and in order to, then they meet whatever the qualifications are in the program.
Okay, I mean, I definitely support the military, and I know we have some other bills that are similar to like this type of thing. Love to get those on the vote too.
Let's get a motion if people want to move it. Senator Riley moves. Carosa seconds. Any objection to adopting the sponsor amendments? Seeing none, adopted. Discussion on the bill as amended. Anybody wish to be recorded in the negative? Seeing not, it goes 10-0-1. Next.
Senate Bill 308, Environment State Green Business Certification Program. This bill requires the Maryland Department of the Environment to establish and administer a statewide green business certification program. I'm not going to talk too much about what's in the bill as drafted because there are sponsor amendments on page 2 of your voting packet with a reprint on page 4 that pretty substantially reworks this to require the department by December 31st, 2022 to establish and then to implement by July 1st, 2023 a Greened Maryland certification program. In developing the program, the department must examine the opportunities to build on the success of the department's existing green registry program, recognize businesses, nonprofit organizations, farms, municipalities, and other entities operating in a manner that maximizes triple bottom line benefits to the environment, economy, and society, suggest program parameters that provide consumers and residents with information on how to identify certified entities, consult with other agencies and interested stakeholders, including the Montgomery County Green Business Certification Program, the University of Maryland Environmental Finance Center, and other interested entities, examine other programs in the state and elsewhere to identify potential organization models, structures, and functions of green certification programs that could enhance the existing Maryland Green Registry program.
Question for the sponsor. And we had a brief conversation yesterday or the day before. Excuse me. What is the criteria to get certified? I mean, that's, the question I raise is, does that mean every business can slap on a green sticker and say, I'm part of the Maryland certification program when they haven't done squat to become more green?
Are you talking about under the current program or under this program? So the
Under
current,
this- Under this, either,
okay, so
Just help
the current program is, my interpretation is it's a little bit of a free-for-all. If you're looking at the Green Registry website on MDE's page, it's very broad and flexible. They actually emphasize that it's flexible. They say you can choose your own activities that make the most sense for your organization. And then you have to just do 5 environmental practices at your own facility, but you kind of choose your own, and then you submit it to the registry. And then the registry is basically just like a sharing of what businesses have done to make their business more green. The certification, I think, is really to move this towards the next step so that there are actual things that you have to meet and criteria that you have to meet. It doesn't spell that out in the bill. It just directs MDE to have, to establish a program and then to actually implement it as well, what those requirements would be. It doesn't specify that, except that it says that it needs to meet the triple aim of improving the environment, economy, and society all at the same time. So not too prescriptive, but tries to move the ball forward than what they currently have, which is just ultimate flexibility to be able to do stuff that's more green, submit it into a website.
Thank you, and thank you for that answer. I'm trying to cross-check the bill and the amendments, and did you work with MDE on both the bill and the new amendments?
Yes, the House sponsor worked with MDE on the new amendments and reached out to them. And then we also had worked with some members of the committee here that had some concerns last time this bill came up.
Okay, so but you didn't work directly with MDE on these new amendments?
I did not our office did not reach directly out to MDE. The House sponsor of this did, to work out these amendments with them. Yeah.
I'm still stuck. We don't know the level of steps or action these businesses, stores, retail, whatever it is, have to do to get certified.
In what's proposed in this, that's correct, because it leaves it up to the department to set up a certification program and for them to set up the criteria by which, those businesses would meet that. I think this is really to just advance the ball forward a little bit, to tell them to do this, which is a bit more than what they currently have with the registry, because the registry really is just kind of a database catalog of things that businesses have done. I think here we want them to actually meet certain criteria, and this tells them that they have to, at the top, establish it and then implement it. And then obviously if there are concerns about how this is implemented, we can come back and be more prescriptive as to what those criteria would be. But I think at this early stage, we don't want to spell that out in statute at this point yet.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I guess, the examine opportunities, recognize buildings, parameters for consumers to decide how to identify the certified entities. I guess I think it's missing a point that says they're to decide criteria that will distinguish them from other buildings not moving forward. In other words, I don't want to make it too high that no one can reach it, but I also don't want to give it out like candy, because it'll confuse people. They're going to go into a business when they haven't even changed their lighting to LED. I mean, we just don't know, and I guess I'd like a little bit more direction, even though I agree with you, spelling it out is not what we want to do. I hadn't seen his amendment, so I don't have a counter solution at the moment. Discussion. Senator Croza.
I'm trying to be caught up on the word coming from the Maryland Department of Environment, and they're indicating that the House bill sponsor was not in communication with MDE about the new amendments.
That wasn't my understanding. I thought that they had communicated this with MDE and that she had worked with other stakeholders as well.
Regardless, it's in our hands. And to be honest with you, it doesn't give a whole lot of direction to MDE. It leaves it very soft. So I'm not sure why MDE would be upset with it, because they can do almost whatever the heck they want to do. Yeah. Senator Salmonero, then Vice Chair.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on the point. I think it's a good goal, but if we're putting these very soft do something, and MDE's not the one coming and saying, I really want to do it, I mean, and if they're not doing a whole lot right now, that doesn't give them a whole lot of incentive to really move the ball forward. It would seem that we would have more criteria in here and say, you have to do at least this if you want to move the ball forward. That's,
Let's do this, Senator, I'm sorry, I apologize, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I like the concept behind this bill, and I appreciate the thoughtful amendments. I wonder whether we could ask for a brief, a memo, not a report, but a brief check-in after MDE creates the parameters. We say, we want this program to be created, and we want to give you a little bit of time to do that, and then we'd love to hear from you what we're thinking. And so by the time they implement it, it actually does something and moves the needle. And so there has to be some progress made. I think it ought to look like a good housekeeping seal of approval. There's something, Maryland Nonprofits has a program called Standards for Excellence, and it's a really hard program. And if you get that logo, if you earn it, it's a lot of work. If you were able to put that on your website, it means something. And so I think this should be something similar, that it says, we really are doing good things. And I don't know whether adding a little thing or,
Yeah, I'm open to, uncodified language at the bottom that would have them come back to the General Assembly with a report about what they've done, and so that we can follow up and make sure that it's in alignment with something that actually is meaningful when it
Yeah.
comes to that certification.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I do think we need a little bit more direction to them. Senator, would you mind if we held it? So we can come up with an amendment to, again, I don't want to over-micro this, but even the parameters are just to how to identify them. There's really not much direction, except it's got to satisfy benefits to the economy, society, environment. Like I said, we pledge green and they get a sticker. And I think we need to do a little bit more, and hopefully one of us, me, or I can ask committee counsel to come up with something without making it too prescriptive. I just think this is a little too soft, at least if people want to move it, you can move it. I'm just not sure I'm going to endorse it, that's all. I don't want to slow it down. Is the House bill moving? Has it crossed?
They're waiting on us, because they passed it clean twice, so, to the House floor, too.
Yeah, I would, yeah. I'd like a little more time. And we can try to move it early on Monday and suspend the rules. And if they want it on the House side, they can still get it out of rules if they want. So I just need a little bit more personally. Senator.
I just wanted to say that, I've talked to Senator Lamb's cross-file in the House, and they've worked really hard on this. I really appreciate the intent, and I think they've come a long way since it was initially introduced. I do think certification programs can really, really move the needle to get, businesses want to do this, and they get the certification, and then people, or nonprofits, and then they get they get the approval. I do have, I support this amendment. I would make a couple changes, which I'll mention now since we're holding it. I think I would not include farms, because there's 2 or 3 other certification programs already. So
You would not include what, Senator?
I would not include the farms. I think that overly complicates the bill.
Where are we?
In the amendment.
In the amendment, it's somewhere between lines 5 and 6, under point 2. It says nonprofit, businesses, nonprofit, organization, farms. And I would also not include municipalities, because we just passed Senator Elfreth's bill to give funding to Sustainable Maryland program, or whatever it was, which is specifically about county and municipalities. I think that would be overly redundant as well. So in the interest of producing a tighter product, I would make those 2 exclusions.
Okay, let's do this. Let's put the bill before us. We might not finish it. You move, you second. The vice chair called for a report back to us in uncodified language. And
With parameters, like how they're going to do this.
explanation of how they're
Yeah.
going to do it.
Yeah,
Anybody object to that amendment? Seeing none, that's adopted. Senator Hester has suggested taking out farms and municipalities. I'm going to take it for granted there's a second. Anybody object to that amendment? Okay. Yeah, I don't want to slow it down, but I just don't think there's any direction here.
Sorry, I know you just said it's adopted. I'm just wondering, if farms don't want to be included, then they wouldn't apply. What's the harm in it being overly inclusive? Because maybe they just start a cool compost. Exactly. The C13s, that's who I want to include. I mean, is there a harm to just offering people the opportunity?
Question, Senator, when Delegate Charcuti and I passed the Certified Local Farmer Program, there was a number of discussions about what it meant to be a certified local farmer. And there was this huge discussion about the potential confusion between the Certified Local Farmer Program and the Buy Maryland, or Buy Best, what's it called? Maryland's Best. So we've got two certification programs that deal with farms already. And having not consulted with any of the farmers in my district, I would.
If
I
we're
don't-
holding the bill, I wonder, Mr. Chairman and Senator Hester, whether if you've got some time, can you send an email to a couple of your farm folks and just see whether they object to being included? Because I think there's no harm with having the opportunity. So this
It's
isn't,
going to be
this
hard,
isn't,
it's going to be hard to explain to them in like the short time that we have.
here's the link to Senate Bill blah, blah, see what you think. Do you want to be in or out? I don't know, that's, I do that every day.
I'd be happy to spend a few minutes on it.
Just a thought.
Senator Carozza.
I want to support Senator Hester's amendment. I think that it would cause confusion, and then, those who opt in, and then what certification is that, and then the consumer's confused. So I think it makes it cleaner to have both farms and municipalities taken out.
Just for some background, because right now the way, and the bill sponsor is correct, the Green Registry is a pretty loose program, but they do right now have the ability for businesses that participate in that Green Registry to note if they are certified by any number of these certifications that we're talking about.
Briefly, I use a printer, and that printer is a union printer, and I get a union bug, and they use wind power, and I get a wind power bug, and they're veteran-owned, and they use soy ink, and hypothetically, I could choose from among a category, but like, they're all there, and they're all options, and they're all things that I like to advertise. So I think more is not necessarily worse.
We're going to hold it, but we're just going to have to vote this up or down, that's all. I mean, what makes sense, that we'll hold on that amendment on the removing farms and municipalities. I know there are a number of people who would like to take it out. The vice chair would like to keep it in. And I will try to come up with 1 or 2 points. And maybe right after the first session on Monday, or if we break today, we might have a short meeting. So we might go back at 7, who knows how tonight's going to play out. It could be a late night. So we'll put this on the list again. Okay, we got about 15 more minutes. I thought this was an easy list. 852.
Senate Bill 852, Education, County Boards of Education, Health Educator Position. This bill requires each local Board of Education to create a health educator position to oversee the implementation of age-appropriate health education instruction in public schools and gather detailed data regarding the operation and effectiveness of health education instruction in public schools. You don't have to remember that because Senator Carter has an amendment that strikes the bill and would alter those provisions, an existing provision of law requiring certificated school personnel who have direct contact with students to receive certain training, and that has been amended to require training in teen dating violence.
Within their existing training.
Correct.
So the whole bill is dumped. and 5
Yes.
words.
I'm
are-
sorry, it's on page 8 and 9 of your packet, the reprint of what the bill looks like with the senator's requested amendments.
Hold 1 second. So the operative part of the bill on page 9 and
No, it-
10 is removed, and 4 words are included on page 8 as a topic in the existing training on health.
That's it?
Yep.
I sat on JPR for a while. And I know Senator Muse, this was a big issue he worked on. Does this tie into any of the work that they did in the criminal procedure or educational article? I know they passed some several years about teen dating and things like that.
I believe there was a bill passed that encouraged local boards to add to their health education discussion of dating violence. And that's in the law. But this is different. This is teaching or training to certificated school personnel. And so this adds to their training for them to be able to recognize trauma or violence, including teen dating violence, and be able to refer students to behavioral health services.
So previously, it was passed that on a regular basis, there should be some training, I guess, in a professional development or a staff meeting on youth suicide, behavioral health issues, violence outside of school, and a couple of other issues. So under violence outside of school, it suggests adding the training include teen violence and dating. So the onerous expectation in the original bill is taken out. So it's up to the body. Anybody want to move it? Okay, it's been moved. Second discussion. Any objection to the sponsor amendments, which trims the bill down significantly? Anybody wish to be recorded in the negative on the bill as amended? 11-0. Are we ready on the King bill?
No. We're still working out some of the language, which complicates it with federal funds and whatnot, so we're working that out.
Okay, let's go to 925.
Senate Bill 925, Prince George's County Special Elections Conducted by Mail Voting Centers. This bill modifies requirements regarding the number, location, and days and hours of operation of in-person voting centers during a special election conducted by mail in Prince George's County. There are no amendments. I understand the delegation just met and approved this, and he has a letter, and it's not on a napkin. Yay!
Hand delivered, mind you. Vice Chair of the Prince George's delegation. It's moved, it's been seconded. Yeah,
So it sounded like this was just local to Prince George's, have no impact on how other counties do it. Is that?
Essentially adds Prince George's County to a provision that Montgomery County already does, so.
anybody wish to be recorded in the negative? Seeing none, 11-0. Ms. Foxworth? Alexis, do you want to do your, the Vital bill?
All right, so Senate Bill 696, Maryland Loan Assistance Repayment for Nurses and Nursing Workers.
This is on the freestanding.
This is on the freestanding list that is coming around now. It should be number 28. Program Establishment and Funding. This had a second in B&T, so it's coming back with amendments from Budget and Tax. So the amendments do 3 things, and that is in the packet that Lamoria is kindly circulating. They clarify the appropriation language as drafted, and that's sent to B&T. There was a requirement that $400,000 would be placed into the fund if there wasn't a mandatory appropriation, and that would come from fees. So this clarifies that language to suggest that there isn't an unnecessary surplus. And it also removes the primary care designation for a qualified nurse or for a nurse to be qualified. Then it also removes the word medical out of medical specialty in response to some concerns from a lobbyist group that nursing workers don't practice medicine in the same way the physicians do.
Sorry, these are the amendments from Budget and Tax?
Yes.
I want you to just take a quick minute to look them over.
The changes are on page 3. And actually throughout 3, 5, 8, and 10. No, 7 and 8, sorry.
Anybody want to move the bill? Senator Hester's moved. Senator Riley is seconded. Any objection to the budget and tax amendments? They obviously are okaying the extra money to go to this. Seeing no objection, we're adopting the B&T amendments. So the bill as amended, discussion. Seeing none and no lights, we'll send that to the floor. 11-0 with a favorable. That's 696. Do we have? Do I have a file on that? No. Okay. 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 Let's go to 951. This is the one we started the other day.
Right. Senate Bill 951, Education, Student Athletes, Uniform Modifications for Modesty, Inclusive Athletic Attire Act. Just to remind you, this bill would require a local board of education, the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association, a governing body of a public institution of higher education, and a board of community college trustees as applicable to allow a student athlete to modify the student athlete's athletic or team uniform to make it more modest, so as to conform to the requirements or preferences of the student's athlete's religion or culture. There are 2 amendments in your packet. Well, Senator Hellman's, if I recall, was to allow modifications based on personal preference, in addition to those for religious or cultural reasons. The one in your packet, starting on page 11, reprint on page 13, is offered by Senator Kagan, and this provides that the bill's provisions would be applicable to non-public schools that receive state funds, meaning K through 12 schools, and non-public institutions of higher education that receive state funds.
The bill's been moved, the basic bill, it's moved. Is there a second? It's the Hedelman bill. I see a second. The sponsor has an amendment, which we talked about yesterday. Student athletes' own preference for modesty. Any objection to the sponsor amendment? Seeing none, that's adopted. Senator Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this has gotten complicated, and it was not my intent to make it complicated. First off, I love this bill. I loved it during the hearing. I love everything about it. My hope and desire was to offer more protection for more athletes by including non-public schools, so that Muslim woman at a non-public school could still wear her hijab if she's playing soccer. That just seemed like common sense. So I was trying to help more young athletes and provide more protection. So I think this amendment is narrow and modest, and not, pun not intended, actually, and have run it past a bunch of folks. Among the people I talked to, though, was the sponsor of the bill, and as much as I think this is a totally reasonable amendment, she prefers that we just pass the bill clean, and so I am going to not offer this amendment. And I strongly support the bill, and if the committee's okay, I would love to be added as a co-sponsor to this bill. I so strongly support it, and with that, I hope we can pass it and send it to the floor. And thanks, Stacy, for doing the amendment.
First of all, Vice Chair would like to be added as a co-sponsor, and that obviously is an open door to anybody else on the committee who would in fact like to be added. Let's do that now. Senator Carrozza would like, Senator Hester, Senator Lamb, Senator Ellis. I got to slow down here. Senator Riley, Senator Patterson, Senator Washington, myself is fine. Any objection to sponsor amendments? Saying none. So we have two amendments. The sponsor amendment, the sponsor's own amendment, and the sponsor amendments, and the Vice Chair has graciously withdrawn or not offered her amendment. Okay, the bill as amended, Senator.
For clarity, your amendment, we talked about the private school, is that your, so that's not, so that's the, doesn't apply to private schools? No, okay, great, thank you.
The discussion on the bill. Anybody wish to be recorded in the negative on the bill? Okay, that'll go to the floor 11-0. It's 3:27, and we've finished our list except for the King bill. We have one hold. If I can get something done on this, well, we had two questions. Oh, you were going to look at.
I've already reached out to
Okay.
many people.
Okay, we may have a very brief meeting if there's a break in the two sessions. I'm afraid there will be one more session, but not sure. Well, who knows? Right now, the tentative plan is to have 3 sessions on Monday morning, late afternoon, and the evening session. And that will give an opportunity for things not to get stuck in rules on the other side. I also want to say you folks have been doing a great job on presenting the bills and doing the reports. We have one we have to come back to today, but I think the two senators at the end of the row have worked out a compromise on hunting. So that will come up, and we have 1 or 2 layovers from this morning, the Attorney General's bill, but I think we have the right answers from Ms. Morton. With that, see you over across the street. Oh, hold it.
Do you want me to do these for this session?
I'm sorry?
Do you want me to get a committee report for this session?
It's up to you,
Okay.
if you can,
You have floor.
if you can.
All right, would you tell me floor lead?
I'll do that. You should have received a flyer for committee dinner. I know we said the end of next week, but let's get beginning of the week so we don't get stuck on money here. We will be inviting the committee staff, front and back staff. You may add your own people, which of course you should invite them and you will be paying for them. But we will distribute and amortize the staff, broader staff among all of us.
Mr. Chair, are we bringing our committee spy with us?
She will clearly be invited. I don't know if she's got law school that night or not.
I will try to make that available.
There you go.
Okay.
Are we still going to miss you? We're
Yeah,
still gonna miss
I already gave him our money, and
Yeah,
my deepest sympathy and regrets.
We'll miss you, Ed.
All right, so totally the class play here, committee play, is all going to be about Senator Riley.
Subcommittee for any skits or gags or craziness. Vice Chair has been assigned that responsibility. So you're all, please approach her if you've got some ideas, and you can be as crazy or wacky as you want, we think.
Really quick, so we're asking for the 25th to be the last day that we take payment. So if you could have payment in by the 25th, that would be great.
Earlier would be better.
Yes.
Thank you, Lemuria. Okay, see you across the street.